Did not turn on this like battery or this RAM saver mode, and I don't understand why all of my tabs like disconnect when I'm not on them. It's weird. There we go. Get
Yeah, I
this.
feel bad. Gio and Brandon aren't going to be on here to defend themselves when I trash talk their team.
Did they say they're not gonna be able to join?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
Oh,
know. I
yeah.
was just joking about them not being here yet. I didn't like double check or confirm with them or anything.
Well, they're not here. We're kicking them out.
That's right. Out
You
of
get the
here.
entire time like Lexington's amazing.
We get 3 points just for me being on and them not.
Right. Okay. Raise that. Just gonna add this.
There's gonna be some really good USL Championship matches tomorrow too.
Yeah.
I'm just looking over right now. Man,
Some solid setups.
yeah. Were you involved in any of the discussions when the USL show was talking with Protagonist?
Yeah, I was involved in like some of the earlier discussions when they were asking how we felt about it. And, I was like, I mean, that's kind of a no brainer linking up with them. I mean, because we were having trouble with the big game network, I guess, where everybody left that was in charge of it. They couldn't get a hold of like all of the feed information to have access rights, and nobody was helping with that. And so Kayla was like, what do we do? And we were all like, I mean, it is what it is. It's
Yeah,
great to have your history, but if you got to scrap it, you got to scrap it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, you got to do what's best for everybody involved.
yeah, just feel bad because I told them I haven't been able to be on here recently because just life, and then keeping up
Oh
with
yeah.
covering LSC that's taken way more time than I assumed, and so got to
Yeah.
have time for the family. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, USL show took the back seat.
Yeah. I mean, it happens, man. Like, it's so hard trying to balance and do all
Hmm.
this stuff, especially like the amount of stuff that you and Rich
Yeah.
both do is just insane. Like,
I'm my own worst enemy. I'm a big try hard. Even I don't. It's like I don't know. I just get too invested in things, and so
yeah,
even now I'm like, man, I'm not doing as much as I wish I could, but
Yeah.
had to be real with myself about it.
I'm right there with you, man. I feel stretched very thin this season.
Yes, I know. I even felt bad whenever I was helping out with like the cup and everything, and then they would like ping me on stuff, and I was like, I can help with this, but I can't do much more. I'm sorry. Like the only reason I really
yeah,
got into it is because Benton like threw me the LSC Loose City one. He's like, normally I
Oh,
do it, but do you want to? And I was like, sure. And I was like,
yeah.
but I don't think I could do much more than that.
right. You're in there. We're good.
Your preview against Greenville is really good too. A lot of detail in there.
Oh, thanks. That's
Yeah.
another thing I have trouble with. I feel like I don't ever put enough, but then everybody was always like, "You write too much." So I'm like, I don't
No.
know. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, I got my fingernails caught on the tab. That sucks.
Ugh.
Hate that feeling.
That is the worst. And then it hangs on for like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Did you guys come with drinks?
Oh yeah,
Not
I
me
just opened mine.
today. I just got Gatorade today. I'm
Hey, that's
trying to
all right.
be good, and so I'm saving my beers for Saturday game days.
Smart.
So those are my one day a week that I'm going for the beer.
That's how I usually do it too, man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really drink during the week because I don't like the way I feel like waking up after it. But then, like, Saturday
Yeah.
comes and it's like, oh yeah, I put like 12 down and then go into the match and
Right.
try not to get
My
kicked out.
my wife showed me a picture. She's like, "Look at this memory from when Cooper was born," and that was 5 years ago. And I was like, Dang, I was a full like 60 pounds lighter. I was like, that's bad for a 5-year run. I need to do something.
Man, they sneaked up on you, that's for sure. Like
Mm-hmm. I
even
know.
because I don't really do it in the off season too much. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe every once in a while, but like I think last season I was like 10 pounds heavier than I am right now. Just, like
Right.
at the end of the season.
Yeah. I used to be like real big into going to the gym like constantly. And then as soon as we had Cooper, it kind of slipped off. And then as soon as we had Asher, it went even further down and
Dude,
just bad.
it's hard. Like trying to find
Yeah.
time. Like
Yeah. And me, just like if I'm not working out, I'm not eating good. I have to be working out to convince myself that eating good is worth it. And that's a horrible way to think, but that's how
Yeah.
my brain works. So it's like, you're not working out anyway. Eat 5 slices of pizza. It's fine. And
yeah.
there we go.
Mm-hmm. So my problem's always been like the opposite. Like in high school, I was like 120 pounds, and it's
Uh-huh.
like, well, why don't you just eat more? I'm like, dude, I can't. I can't. There's nothing
Yeah.
I can do about it. Like, as soon as I eat, I'm done. And then I swear, as soon as I hit 30, or so,
Hmm.
like when I was in the army, I was like 175, and then I got out and dropped
Uh-huh.
like 20 pounds, and then
Yeah.
I have to watch what I'm eating now because it's like
Yeah.
if I eat fast food a couple days a week or something like that, everything just
Get
like
you.
starts jiggling, and I'm like, this isn't normal. Like, I don't usually feel myself move like this, but
Yeah, right.
What a perfect descriptor too.
it's like, what was
I
it
feel
on?
you.
Oh, what is the Adam Sandler Big Daddy when he's talking about like he has a milkshake and his ass jiggles for a week? Yeah, I feel that now. Like I completely
That's
understand this.
hilarious. Oh
Who was
man, I
the
know.
who was the comedian that was in Paul Blart? Kevin
Kevin James, is that his name?
Yeah,
James.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
yeah,
think
he
yeah,
so.
had a
yeah.
Yeah.
stand up and he was talking about his weight and all that kind of stuff. And he was saying that when he brushes his teeth, he can feel his belly go back and forth. And I thought, damn it, I feel that, man.
Oh man. Oh, so these games today, man, they were
Yeah.
some they were some good ones. Like
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I caught pretty much all of Tormenta in one Nox,
Same.
and then I saw 2 out of the 3 goals for NCFC Red Wolves.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus, man, North Carolina, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's Carolina teams. Well, minus Greenville.
Minus
But
Greenville. You
yeah,
can't say anything
otherwise it's
nice about them
Carolina
this week.
teams. Yeah. I told Gio and Brandon, I was like, I'm gonna say horrible things about you guys until Sunday, and then we'll get back on track.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I
But
saw
yeah,
on online that it was North Carolina's first victory over Chattanooga.
really.
That surprised the hell
I
out of
think that
me.
sounds about right. I think I remember seeing something like that.
Wow. I
Yeah.
had not realized that.
I mean,
That's wild.
well, I mean, when you've been bottom of the table for the past couple of years, like it's hard to
True.
get wins
Yeah.
against
Uh-huh.
anybody, really. But
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's
yeah,
fair.
they look pretty damn good. I
Right.
still am really worried about their
And
defense, though,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
because I mean, if you can
And
score 8 but you give up 9, like
yeah.
then
Then what's the
what good
point?
was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brian, soon after you told me to go check out the Tormenta goal, that's when
Dude.
around the same time that Olex Anderson had his goal. And so I saw that one just after I saw the Tormenta goal. Just oh my god, that the 5 hole
Hmm.
he was on the
Yes.
breakaway. Holy crap, man. That shit was sick.
Man, that was slick. That
Mm-hmm.
that's good goals tonight all around. None of them were like trash. I mean, that Cassini goal, the angle on that,
Cassini. Yeah.
that was insane.
That
Yeah.
was just pure effort too. Like he
Yes.
just did not give up on the ball.
No, he's like on the touchline and cuts it through.
Mm,
And I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
I told Brian he probably smacked the hell out of that ball and said the quickest prayer you've ever heard in your life.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
100%.
Hmm.
That was nice though.
Yeah.
He's a
Austin
good
Corey
player.
was good too. Yeah.
I remember the funny thing about him too is that like when he came to Omaha,
Hmm.
last year, I gave him hell the entire match.
Mm.
It's like
Yeah.
just screaming at him, and that dude takes it completely in stride. Like
Uh huh.
thumbs up, and like I made a comment about he has like a full back tattoo, and all I could see was the
Uh huh.
bottom. So I asked him why he had
Yeah.
a tramp stamp, and he just turned around and was just like, "Yeah, that was pretty
Yeah.
good." It's
That's good. Some of them, man, there was actually a guy at the Lexington game. He was sitting in the section over from me, but in the same row. He was heckling the hell out of their team, like so bad. I mean, it was almost to the point that even like Lexington fans were being like, "All right, dude," but like some of them you could tell were getting a little rattled here and
Mhm.
there. It was kind of funny, but it's yeah, he did seem like he had a cool head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Soup
And
Loop's
Brian, who was
coming
that
in.
story about again?
Cassini.
Cassini. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Soup Loop's coming in saying, I hope he starts getting more time. And he's talking about Matthias Cassini.
Hmm.
He's a good player, man. I like
Yeah, he is.
you saw it when he was in Madison, and I'm sure Madison fans are like devastated that he's gone. At least it sounded like it last year.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know what was going on and why he left, but
Hmm.
I don't know. They both
Yeah.
seem to
Yeah.
be doing just fine without each other, so
Right.
I guess all is good.
Yeah. Shakes out in the end.
Mhm.
Yeah. I never heard anything about him being one of the troublesome players in the locker room. So if he's not one of those players, you would think they'd want to
Hmm.
keep him around.
I don't know. That was just a really weird turn of events that happened out in Madison, but
Hmm.
they're sitting pretty right now. So
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
5 points, with 5 points in 3 matches. That'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, Cheney's doing good work for him. I
Hmm.
think it's doing him a lot of good to have somebody that's a consistent striker.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yep.
Just like a pure striker too. Like that dude
Yeah.
is on
Yeah.
the field to score goals, and that is it. That's all they
Yeah.
expect out of him. So
100%. He was somebody that I was a little worried about when we went up against him. I was like, please don't find your form against us.
yeah.
Don't be don't fire up and start just like hammering these in. So
Hmm.
I was glad when we snuck away without him doing any damage to us.
Yeah. Didn't want to see the backflip in person.
No,
Oh
no,
man.
no, not at all.
That damn backflip.
I
Uh-huh.
credit to him, man. That's tough. Like that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would die trying to do something like that.
no doubt.
And the crowd uh environment there at Lexington during the Madison match looked like it was a good time.
It was insanity. We had such a great time out there. It was so funny because with it being the first home match and the crowd coming out, I was impressed right off the bat. As soon as I came in through the gates, I knew that it was next level how many people were there. I was only expecting maybe a couple thousand, and I was like, okay, this is definitely more than that. I ran into one of our owners, Stephen Dahlhair, and he's like, we got 3,000 here, and then more people poured in and then you started feeling it, and it was so funny because everybody was kind of like doing that weird awkward thing when the game started, like they weren't quite sure when to cheer, how loud to cheer, and they were like feeling it all out. And then
Right.
like as they were feeding off the team's energy, they're getting louder and louder and louder, and by like the second half of the game, people were like rocking the place. It was hilarious just how loud people got, and I think that it actually did some good having the flock there because
Yeah.
they were really loud in the first half, and then I think eventually it got the Railbirds going, our supporters group, and they were like, "Wait, we need to be
Hmm.
louder." And then
Yeah.
of course then the fans on the opposite side where I usually sit with media box and all that, they started getting that energy, and then people were like rattling the bleachers whenever we were getting momentum and just shouting and like yelling down at the refs whenever they thought there was a bad call. Whereas in the
Yep.
first half, it was relatively quiet in comparison, but it was cool. And then just experiencing the players feeding off that energy too. You could tell they were getting super amped whenever we would amp them up, and so that was a neat thing to experience. And it
Hmm.
was so awesome that even with a draw, everybody treated it like it was a win because I
Yeah.
guess it was just such a fun time that
Hmm.
to all the fans, it felt like a win just because of the experience and the energy that was there. So
Yeah.
that was really cool.
And during corner kicks, you guys talking about rattling the benches or the stands. You guys were like stomping your feet during corner kicks, weren't you?
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. People were like just stomping on the benches, trying to make some noise. A lot of people were like hollering as loud as they could. And that actually carried forward into last weekend's match too. There was a lot of that happening. We had about 400 less people, but it was still a really good turnout considering all the
Yeah.
things that were going on in town. But I feel like that match we saw people come in ready with the energy. There wasn't like that weird like feeling things out. When is it good to cheer? What do
Yep.
we do? Um, some people got a little too into it. I don't know. Did you guys see the PK uh, that they took against us that Tormenta went up there for?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see the guys behind the goal? They had to stop the match because they were on the pitch technically. There's some guys
Oh.
behind Austin Causey, and first they were just like pulling their shirt up, and one of them turned and gave him the moon. And so I don't think many people saw it because it was so quick and there was so much going on. And everybody was watching the players because there was a holdup, obviously, and so everybody was trying to figure out what they're talking about. But if you go back and watch it, you'll catch it. So some
Oh,
people
I gotta
got
go back and watch
really
that now.
into it. Yeah, yeah. And like I said, there was that one guy sitting in our section, which he was getting real amped and into it, yelling down the refs and everything. So there's a lot more energy for sure.
That's awesome.
So Brian and I have talked about this guy at you and Omaha matches before, but he loves to yell down and he'll pick out a single player or a group of players if they're
Yeah,
wearing long sleeves when they come to town, and
hmm
he will go to town on those guys.
yeah. Hey, I mean, but it's whatever you got to do to get in their head. Um,
Exactly.
Hmm.
it's one of those things where it's that psychological side of things, and I don't know, it's just kind of funny hearing that trash talk. I thought it was also funny too that we actually got a little bit of trash talk out of our players caught on camera. I don't know if you guys watch back the replay. A couple people that sit next to us, they were actually talking to each other, and they were like, "Well, I wonder how much trash talk actually goes on that field."
Oh my
And one of the dudes
gosh.
was like, "Oh, it's got to be a ton."
Yeah.
After the Owen Green goal, whenever the team posted the clip of the celebration, they actually had to mute out a couple parts because you hear Nico Brown run to the like into the corner and he goes off camera and he's like, "Don't release him! Don't release him!" and, and you see um, the bench reacting, and then of course like our guys start reacting because they're getting upset about it, and then yeah, Nico doubles down and then looks back and says it one more time, and then they all walk off. And I was like, I like that energy. I like that.
It is. It
Let's
is
keep that
good.
going. You got to have that. You got to have that in those moments. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
yeah, it might upset some of your competition, but I mean, you got to remember it's a game. That's just
Hmm.
part of it when you're on the field. I can't say anything. Whenever I played, I was like the worst. I was absolutely the worst about trying to get in people's heads. And, then afterwards, you shut that part off and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's over. Shake
Yep.
Yeah.
hands. It was a good game and you did awesome. Now I can compliment you now that we're done.
Right.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I can't.
Yeah.
I never talked trash when I was on the field, but I definitely like threw my body around a little bit. And
Yeah.
then guys just start getting mad at me and everything, and after the final
Yeah.
whistle, like, I didn't care, the game's over.
Yeah.
But sometimes those final handshakes might be a little more contentious, and you're like, "Dude, it's
Yeah.
over, man. Just get over it."
Be a little bit more firm than you were expecting. I was the
Mhm.
same way. I was somebody that definitely used my size to my advantage,
Yeah.
and it did not win me a whole lot of fans. And I would talk a little bit of smack too, but um, like I said, it's just I always have like this idea of like there's like game Tyler, and then there's
Hmm.
just normal Tyler,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's probably one of my early coaches' faults because I had like a coach real early on, whenever I was real young, and I used to be kind of timid when I'd play sports, and I was like, how kids are. Like at first, they're like, "Well, I'm not supposed to take the ball. I'm not supposed to play
Hmm.
aggressive," and I had a little bit too much of that going on. And my coach, he actually was like trying to amp me up one day, and he's like, "We're gonna give you a new nickname. We got to get you amped up. You got to have something that's gonna be like your name on the court." And so he literally, for the whole season, called me Big Nasty.
Big nasty.
he's like,
Yes.
He's like, you got to be big nasty when you're out on that court. You got to be mean. You got to be nasty. You got to take the ball. You got to do what you want to do. And it's so funny because then I don't know, that kind of like clicked in my head, and I was like, oh yeah, you can be that way. You can be mean and kind of nasty on the field or on the court and do what you want, and then you could be different afterwards,
Yeah, you just gotta find whatever works for you, like,
Yeah,
right?
different personas.
Yeah.
that's
Um,
so funny.
so going back to conversation about the stands, Alex Ashton has a comment here. Alex, good to see you too.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
says, "Honestly, it seemed like Charlotte wasn't motivated on Wednesday due to only having 500 people in the stands. That matters."
Yeah,
So, um, yeah, I mean, I completely agree. It's you see it in any team that I mean, if we look right now at our attendance leaders, it's Richmond, Charlotte, Madison, Lexington, and Greenville. I
Hmm.
mean, like
mm,
those top 3 at least are, all teams in the upper echelon, except for
Yeah.
Richmond, I guess, um,
and Alex,
but
I think you even said during the broadcast, during the stream that we were watching together, that Charlotte's, stadium's, actually pretty big, and so having 500 people in that stadium spread out, not
yeah,
only on one side, but on both sides, I mean, it just made it seem like it was just desolate in that stadium.
Yeah. It was pretty intense. It was funny because I was watching that match and my wife happened to walk by and she was like, "Is that all they have there?" And I was like, "Well, we
Yeah,
don't see the other half, but that's
yeah,
doesn't look good." And she's like, "That's a big stadium to be that empty." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like,
yeah,
"I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It's midweek, but
yeah.
yeah,
not a good look."
Midweeks are always tough, but like I feel
Yeah,
like that's when your promotions team really has to step up
yeah,
and
mhm,
make it so people want to come out or make it memorable, maybe you take a little bit
right.
of hit on the gates, but you get more
Hmm.
people in and then they buy concessions and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and then
yeah,
maybe come back over the weekend games too.
hmm
Absolutely.
yeah.
yeah, I mean it. I'm still not fully over that match from Wednesday. So
Yeah,
what are you gonna do? I mean, Omaha looked decent and Charlotte looked like Charlotte. So I mean,
right.
I guess what can you really expect? But I don't know, man. This league it's pretty tight right now. So
Yeah.
it continues to be that way. But
Hmm.
then Alex saying that's what I said to the other half. Um, speaking of what Tyler said earlier, but the numbers came out and ouch. So
Mhm.
yeah, I didn't actually see if those came out or if I haven't updated. Uh,
I think
I
the
I
latest figure
don't.
I saw was like 537 or something like that, so yeah, it wasn't
Yeah,
Yeah, the
drastically different.
one I use on Soccer Stadium isn't updated yet. I'm sure we'll update after the week. Yeah, that's a big hit because their average right now is almost 4,000 people. So
right.
that's a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Versus where if you went to the, Greenville match, when they hosted Fuego that night, they had, 1,500 people.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's third division on a weeknight, but
Yeah,
Gotta find some way to pull them in,
you.
exactly.
you know? That's it's just one of those things, and especially when you think about, like, how good Charlotte's doing too, like, the
Hmm.
Mhm.
start they've gotten, that's also one of those moments where you're just kinda like, "Man," like, that just proves it's not just all about wins to pull in the fans, like you said, Brian, organization has to do some things to really pull people in there and make them wanna show up for those games too,
Hmm.
so it can't just rely on just product on the field as much
Right.
as sometimes you want to default to just saying it wins bring people in. They do, but you have to have other things in the mix as well, especially at this level.
Yeah.
Mm, that's where, Alex's, kickers, have a little bit of an advantage because 'cause they've been around since the '90s, so, I mean, they've established that presence
Yeah.
in the community, whereas if you have, newer clubs that into the league trying to get those
Hmm.
midweek matches going, ooh,
Yeah.
that's a lot tougher.
Absolutely. That's it's something we're feeling a lot too. Is just the idea of just even getting people out for the weekends, and luckily it's been good so
Hmm.
far. We've had some solid turnouts. I mean, that first game, I know this is silly, like complaining about to people in Omaha, but that first game, the weather, I mean, it was pretty chilly, and so to think
Yeah,
about how many people coming out for that, whenever it's going to be a new product on the field,
Yeah.
here in Kentucky, that means something. And then, thinking about Keeneland going on, Keeneland's been going on both weekends. Like I know this seems like a silly one to bring up, but I had actually a couple of people I know that didn't make it because like Disney on Ice was here last weekend, and so they were taking their
Oh,
kids, and then some
Mhm.
other people were going out of state for different soccer tournaments. In fact, tournaments with the youth side for LSC, so they weren't going to be there. So
oh,
even with all that happening, I feel like that 2,500 that we pulled was or 2,600 was pretty solid. But I'm
even
hoping
more
we can keep that
impressive.
momentum. I hope that keeps up. We're going to have some chilly weather this weekend, but it's not going to be too terrible. So it's not going to be any
Uh,
worse than what it was on game one. So it's getting that momentum and keeping it.
It'll
Mhm.
be perfect for a Lexington triumph.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I'll have to use that whenever we win.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, what's funny is, like, trying to bring people out at the beginning of the season is always difficult no matter where you go. I mean, the ones
Yeah.
like, even if you have good weather places like Central
Hmm.
Valley, then you have to worry about the front office, support and stuff like that and, like, fan support for
Right.
even though the weather's nice, like, everybody has all these competing factors that it's just
Yeah.
nobody in the league has, like, the perfect,
No.
like, setup to be really good, like, attendance-wise yet. I
Right.
think it'll come eventually, but the league's gotta get a little bit bigger, and the league's gotta get
Yeah.
a little more consistent, and I don't know, I mean, as far as, like, start times for matches, so or, like, set
Hmm.
days is like, this is a USL 1 day, this is a USLC day, like,
Yeah.
doing that and I mean, they also have to compete with all these other sports, like, I know
Yeah.
for Omaha specifically, like, when Husker football season comes, and if there's a
Hmm.
Husker home game and it's at the same time as a Union Omaha match, you see the numbers dip pretty good, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I can definitely see that being something for us too. UK football has really picked up around here in
mhm,
recent years, ever since we got the coach change and we got Mark Stoops and stuff. So I'm curious to see what happens with what goes down whenever football season swings through and how that affects our numbers. But hopefully we can keep it rolling,
mhm.
get that investment. The team's definitely trying. I know I've been really psyched about how much our team's reached out and partnered with our local media. Like they've done all kinds of stuff with them. They're there at the matches. They have one of our local news stations now doing football Fridays where they sit down with Coach Stocks and one of the players
Oh,
for like
wow.
5 to 10 minutes on Fridays, and then they air it live. And so that's been kind of cool. They've done that the past 3 weeks, and that's been something that's pretty neat. And I think it's been helping our case because the anchor that sits down with him, he actually is our PA announcer too.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
So I think that's kind of a nice little tie-in that helps buy us that extra little showing. So it's
Mhm.
been cool to see that, and I'm hoping that'll kind of keep boosting things up, having the local media really
Oh, yeah.
kind of talk about us and go from there.
and they even interviewed you, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah, they did that
Yeah.
a while back. Yeah, it's funny because I went into work the next day, and all the teachers and students they were like, "You're famous." I'm like, "I'm not famous. I was on like the for like 30 seconds. Like that was nothing." And they're like, oh, "Okay, yeah." And then we just kind of went on, and nobody ever talked about it again. But it was fun. It was fun getting to go on there and talk with them about it.
Yeah.
With all
Uh,
the work that you do, the writing, the podcasts, the USL show, all that kind of stuff. Do you have people coming up to you like, "Hey, you're Tyler"?
Only at games. Only at
Yeah.
games. Yeah, I've had that happen a few times at matches. Probably the coolest thing that happened was when we went for the one Knox game, the very first game we played. We went down there with a couple of friends and we carpooled together to the match, and we parked, and then two giant white SUVs were pulling across, and then I see Stephen Doghair, one of our owners, like waving at me, and my friends were like, "What was that about?" And I'm like, "Ah." It's just because I'm wearing LSC gear. It's nothing. And then we start walking towards the stadium, and then we run into Steven Short, our COO now, right? And then the whole ownership group and their families. And Steven Short's like, "This is the guy. That's Tyler. That's Tyler Crane, the dude that runs all those social media accounts." And they're like, "What, really?" And then they're all like stopping and talking to me and shaking my hand. And meanwhile, our friends are just standing off to the side, like, what just happened? What's going on here?" And so we chatted for like 5 minutes or something, and then we all just decided to go into the game. And they were like, "That was like super weird. We didn't know that like people knew you." And I was like, "I didn't know people knew me."
Right.
It's, I feel like half the time I'm talking into the void.
People are
Yeah.
gonna be lining up to talk to Brian, and then the next, few weeks because he's gonna be starting to do that, thoughts from the beer line at halftime,
I
and
mean,
they're gonna be swarming to try to track you down.
Yeah, they are.
yeah, if the weather actually like comes out and is somewhat decent on Saturday, I mean next Saturday, I mean like because it's hard to get to talk to people when it's hailing in your face, you know? So
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Puts a damper on things.
well, and plus like I was completely soaked for that match too. And like at the start of the match, before the match even started, I was soaked. So it was like I'm going
Yeah.
downstairs, I'm going to the bathroom, I'm turning the water on hot, and I'm just putting my hands under it for like 5 solid minutes and then coming back out.
And then
It's
you
like,
realize people are lining up there to talk to you.
no, no, not yet anyway. I mean,
Like, "Can I get a selfie?"
and yeah, a bathroom selfie. Right in the like an old school like mirror selfie with the
Yeah,
with
exactly.
the
With
actual
Yeah.
camera
security
camera.
mirror and
Yeah,
everything,
yes,
and yeah, I mean, that's cool though. That is exciting though. Like when you go out and you like, it's just like it's not even like the sense of being like famous. It's just like the sense of community, and then
hmm
feeling like people are actually wanting to like read to get invested and figure out things about the team. And
right.
that's been cool. Like the fans that have come and talked to me and been like, "Oh, like I read your thing about that, and you were right." And so then sometimes I'm like, "Oh, I'm not a complete idiot. I actually was right about something, and somebody told me I was right. So okay, I feel a little bit better about what I said."
Right.
And so that's been kind of neat. And then just how many people like will just DM me and be like, "Hey, here's the match. What are you thinking about this?" And so that's nice to just to chat with other fans and have that because for as much as I'm into to soccer, I my closest friends, like I have a friend group that we've been friends since middle school. None of them like soccer, not a
Mhm.
bit. Like
Yep.
they don't care at all. I have one buddy who has a Twitter account solely to just get on there every like 3 weeks and then he'll spam like and retweet all of my stuff. And that's his version of support. And I'm like, man, you don't have anybody that like knows you that doesn't do anything. And he's like, I'm doing it nonetheless, man. It's like I don't care about soccer, but I care about you. And I'm like, all right, man, whatever. That's great. But it's fun getting that community and then really meeting new people, getting to talk to them. That's some cool stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I was starstruck the first time that we were sitting out, and I think it was me, my brother, and Rich. I think you were there, but it was like the first time Peter Marlette, our GM, came up and was like, "Oh hey, I got to go talk to the On the Rocks guys real quick." It was
Yeah.
like this was like right after we interviewed him or whatever, but it was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
it's
That was
like
a cool moment.
it was
Yeah.
almost like the jerk with Steve Martin where he sees his name in the phone book and he's like, "I'm
Uh-huh.
somebody now." Yeah, it's like it feels like that,
But you're right, it's like a surreal feeling, like, anytime you run across anybody associated with the team and they actually, like, recognize you, and then they, like, say your name, you're just like, "Wait, I still don't believe that you know me, even though, like, we've
right?
spoken in the past." This is still kind of a weird thing.
hmm
Mhm.
It's one of those moments where you're just like, "Huh, it really just happened."
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I, I even had like a couple of those moments whenever I was waiting to go down for our interviews onto the field, and it was our first home match, and I was getting ready to go down onto the concourse, and like Nico Brown and Khalid Balagoon were coming up past the stairs, and they saw me, and like Nico was like, "Thanks for like all the writing you do, man. I appreciate that." And then we kind of did the whole bro shake hug thing, and then Khalid came back behind him, and we did that too, and I was just kind of like okay, that was all right. That was cool,
Right.
you know. But then like I start like short circuiting a little bit because in my mind like that's a big deal, and I'm
hmm
just like, holy crap! Just got to chat with a couple of our players and not in like a weird sitting here interviewing type of setting either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm gonna catch up on chat real quick. Alex Ashton again. Was talking about. This just goes back to us talking about getting the word out about matches and stuff like that. He says it's word of mouth here. Obviously, the name recognition, but word got around town that it's a fun experience. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it definitely works because Richmond's up there
Yeah,
averaging 5,500 fans right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
That's
packed.
no joke. And they said their minor league baseball team is also seeing record attendance. So that is a big thing to do with it. Especially
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's the same thing in Omaha, like around here. If the baseball team's getting good numbers, generally Union Omaha is too. Just because people are more
Mhm.
likely to come out and hang out in the ballpark.
Right.
And then a new chat too from Dave Verana here asking, as a neutral, who do you guys think win the season series between NCFC and the Jacks?
Ooh, good question.
Ooh,
Thank you, Dave.
Very good
man.
question, Dave.
Yeah, that's a toughie. Um, man, I predicted NCFC to win it all at the beginning. I've liked the look of Charlotte though.
Hmm.
Charlotte's been very impressive. I can't lie. I mean, I know, it's the Omaha draw that wasn't quite like the attacking experience people are expecting, but Union Omaha, you guys know, you guys aren't pushovers this year, you know. So I don't know. Ah, it's tough.
So they drew the first time they played,
Yeah.
and it was a North Carolina home match. And
Uh-oh.
they next go to Charlotte on May 21st, and then North Carolina hosts on June 30th. So basically, a home and away to decide.
Who wins the
Yeah,
series?
and this is the Dogwood Derby, isn't it?
Or it could be all tied up at the end, starting with a tie.
Mhm.
Mm.
That's true too.
I'm gonna take the easy way out, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be tied up. I'm gonna say they get one each.
Ooh,
I'm gonna
going
go that
neutral.
route. I'm,
This-
I'm sneaking out of that one.
Dave says in the chat, I like that NCFC call. I think he's going to have to take that one back after. uh, Alex Ashton says, I think NCFC's youth wins this one.
I can see that
Yeah.
happening.
I can
I
see that.
mean,
Yeah. Um,
and
I'm I'm going to say NCFC just because NCFC beat Omaha and Charlotte did at
yeah,
least this at this point in the season. So
Yeah, that's
mhm,
true. Yeah.
yeah.
and
And Minsigan's been huge for them. I mean, and he's not their only weapon by any means.
mm-mm,
Like he's just one of many, and
Yeah.
he's been coming up big. So I just feel like it's just gonna be one of those things where we're gonna see each of them have their moment in the spotlight, and it's just gonna keep rotating.
mm-hmm,
And
But
Nick Holiday's doing a lot better this season.
yeah, that PK save today,
Yeah,
that was good.
the biggest surprise for me has been how they've been using Garrett McLaughlin,
Yeah,
mm-hmm,
because for a good stretch of the season last year, he was your Golden Boot leader,
yeah,
and this year he's acting more of like a facilitator, like an assist guy. I mean, I
yeah.
think he got an assist tonight. Um, so to see him play in a different role but still
Mhm,
excelling, I mean, he's even
yeah,
coming off the bench. He's not starting.
right. I mean, that just maybe speaks to how many weapons they feel like they have, like to be confident and taking somebody that pretty much carried your offense last season and just being like, we'll use you when we feel like we need fresh legs and want to switch out, maybe
Yeah,
kind of catch them off guard with a different look. But
that's
yeah, you're
true too.
right. That is something like watching that. I was like, oh, he's maybe not going to be as productive because now he's having to share with all these other guys. And I mean, that's a good problem to have as a team, though. Like,
Hmm.
mm-hmm.
you can't quite decide who you want as like your primary attacker because you just
Yeah.
have so many options. That's a solid thing to have on your table.
Hmm.
Sorry, brother texted me here. He's sitting at the bar, and I told him I was like recording and streaming with you guys. And he's like, "I thought you guys record on a different day." It's like, "Yeah, we do usually, but we're also doing hangouts." So,
Yeah.
oh, and
Right.
my brother also saying NCFC might be legit this year. It's just
Yeah.
the text that I
Yeah.
got. So,
He's locked in on it too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Those two teams mean business this year, it seems so far. So
Hmm.
I feel like they're going to be the ones to beat. I mean, everybody's going to be jockeying for position, but until somebody shows that they can shut them down consistently, it's going to
yep.
be kind of like the Giants that you're going to have to overcome.
Yep. And I like that wordplay, the jockeying coming from the Lexington fan.
Yeah, see, look, not even trying. That's just how much it just seeps in.
I
Perfect.
like the, when the flock was saying like, "We really like your town, but what's with all the horses?"
Yeah. Did you hear about them, getting scolded by one of the LSC fans?
Oh god, watch out, they're gonna put it in a magazine.
When they were doing their chant, like, saying, "Let's make some flocking noise,"
Mhm.
it definitely did not
Oh,
sound like that on the other side, and so, like, I guess one of the parents came over, and she's like, "I have my kids here, and you guys are, like, doing this chant," and I guess she was pretty upset, and I guess they had to explain themselves and be like, "No, this is what we're saying, we promise." And I was like I told my wife that, and she was like, "It did not sound like that, though," so I could see why, because
yeah,
from across the way, it totally
Oh,
had a
yeah.
different sound
yeah.
to it.
Mhm.
And
I just
Dave
thought it was
corrected me,
funny.
"Yeah, it was, 'We really like your, bourbon, but what's with all the horses?'" Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, that was, yeah, they were definitely, representing and making some noise for how few of them there were. There was, like, what, 15 or 20, I think, and that I
yeah,
mean, that's pretty good
That's still a
for
good
Madison
turnout.
crew coming here. Yeah, I mean, traveling all that way, that was impressive, you know, and
yeah.
then, last week, we didn't have anybody from Tormenta, I don't believe.
Did
I
you meet up with, Rob or any of the guys over at the,
Yeah, yeah,
flock?
I got a chance to Rob actually messaged me and asked if I'd have a moment after the interviews to chat with him. So he asked me a few questions and we talked a minute so that way he could use that for their pod and I was on there for that. So that was cool. It was great
Nice.
getting to meet Rob and actually see him in person and talk with him.
Mhm.
He's such a good guy.
Yeah, yeah, he was super nice.
And Dave also saying that y'all are welcome at Brees anytime.
Dave, are
So
you in flock?
yeah, I mean, the flock, dude, they travel and
They
Yeah,
do.
they're serious, like, they were super
yeah,
loud, when they were here
Oh,
in
yeah.
Omaha.
yeah. I mean, I definitely want to do as many away days as I can. Obviously, it's tough
Mhm.
when you
Mhm.
got a family and everything, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna try. I've already done Knoxville. Obviously, that's an easy
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
This year, I think my other one I'm gonna try and make happen is Greenville in October. I think I'm gonna get out there because we've
Be
got
Ooh,
our
another good
fall
one.
break, so I want to go check that out for our final game of the season and
that'll be cool.
see what it's about. And obviously, I want to get out to Omaha and go see a game you
Yeah.
guys' way. It's there's a lot of places on my list, but
Mhm.
When you come to Omaha, let me know. You can use my tickets.
yeah, I'll definitely let you know whenever I come through.
Yeah.
Not gonna just
If
sneak
you
in
have
there.
not been to Brees, I know that Alex is saying that, Brees is on his, bucket list. Man,
Yeah,
it's a fun stadium to go to. It's fun.
yeah, that's somewhere else I want to go. That's definitely like for next season. It's kind of between like Omaha and Madison as far as checking out. Um, I mean, eventually I'll check them all off, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
trying to do one or two a year, see if that's plausible.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool. I think it's also, like, neat when you go to places and you can still have fun, and, I was proud of our staff and our stadium and our fans too because, from what I saw, all the members of the flock that showed up had nice things to say about how they were treated and the environment and everything, and that's what you wanna see. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kinda like whenever I went down to Knoxville, for as much as they talked about making it, like, a terrible experience for away day people, it was not a terrible experience. Everybody was
Yeah.
super nice. There was, like,
Yeah.
this sweet little girl that came up to me at the end of the game, and she was like, "Really good game. You guys played really well," and I'm like, "Thanks." Like, everything about it was, like, wholesome, like, about as wholesome as it can be for losing to a newly formed rival, you know what I mean? But, uh, that's just kinda neat, 'cause I really like that so far, everybody seems like they can set aside the game day results and vibes before and after and just kinda have some fun. That's been cool.
See, I'd be able to take it if the home fans were, like, yelling at me, that's fine. But if some little girl comes up to me and, like, scoffs and, like, kicks my shin, and that's where I'm gonna cry, like, "Oh my god, I
Yeah.
can't do this."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, there was even, like, a dude that was part of I believe he was part of the supporters group. He would run back and forth the flag. And at the end, he's like, "Hey man, this is like awkward, but you're like the closest person. Do you care to take our picture with the flag? This is our first game ever." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I really appreciate that." And he's like, "You guys did great." So there was like a lot of that type of stuff happening. And then later, I like see Knoxville fans being like, "Yeah, next match, nobody wants to be here." And I was like, "It's actually pretty pleasant."
I
Yeah,
kinda do.
right.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree. I gave you a good review on Yelp.
That's what we need to do. We need to start a review site for away
USL
days.
one.
Yeah.
That'd be the best. Like
Uh, Dave says
Madison
he.
would do. Sorry, go ahead, man.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. Dave said he doesn't have a formal role in the flock, but um, he says hashtag up the motherfucking goes is what I'm assuming
There you
that
go.
hashtag means.
That's exactly what I mean.
And you might
There
have
it is.
tricked me and got me to say that, so now it's gonna be clipped and played. But it's,
You're doomed now, man.
uh, I mean, there's already enough of them. Like, I get enough of the
Playing
kit
dead.
talk too. Every single time Madison releases a new kit, it's either Chip says something to me, or Geo says something to me, or Rich says something to me about, oh, hey, how do you like this kit? It's like, whatever, man. I can't say anything, so it's just going to get used against me later on.
And like when Gio had that one tweet where he was rooting for Union Omaha, like, nope, that's gonna live in infamy, man.
Yep.
Well, did
That's
you
going
see
down in history.
Bolt get him too? Just recently, where he
Oh,
used
Bolt
Geo
did?
for his header? Because
No, I didn't
from
see that.
last year, whenever he was cheering for Tormenta, I think it was from like the Open Cup maybe. And yeah, so Bolt changed his header to Geo's tweet saying like "Go Tormenta" or whatever.
That's good.
It's just like the moment you like cheer for somebody openly, you know
Yeah.
somebody has screenshotted
Yep.
that or bookmark it or something, and it's gonna come back for you.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's why I'm always just like waiting for something to come out of the shadows
Yep.
and then and come back for me, and I'm just like, "Oh, what's it gonna be and who's it coming from?"
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be Bolt first and
Oh,
foremost.
and I just want to put it out there. I restrained myself when we beat Tormenta. I could have come for both, but I didn't. I stopped myself because I honestly wanted to, just do right by Geo in that moment and kind of give him a little payback through me, but also gloat some. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be better than that. I'm gonna take the high road, and then I'll probably regret it later.
Well, so I guess if or when, I guess for you, when Lexington wins against Greenville tomorrow,
Yes, I
how are
like
you
that.
gonna react?
Oh, I'm gonna be through the roof. I'm gonna be through the
Yeah.
roof.
Yep.
I'm probably gonna harass Gio and Brandon for a couple days at least,
Yeah.
That's
at a
fair.
minimum. Like I've had to like stay my hand a little bit with my Twitter fingers. I was just like, I got one, and I was like, nope, just don't, just hold off, and then be just somebody that they can't stand after you win. Then let it just all flow.
Hmm.
Just let it
Yeah.
go out into the universe. Because I'm like, as soon as you start tweeting before the game you're gonna put some bad mojo into the universe for LSC. So,
It
um,
comes back to bite you.
yeah, I mean,
You gotta
because
release you gotta release the big nasty.
yes, I know I will, but I want our team to also because I mean, frankly, like going into this match, in my mind, I was thinking, okay, they're down bad. This is hopefully gonna go our way because our momentum keeps moving up. But I know Fuego they looked bad the other night, but a win is a win, and a win does a lot for a team.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
so even though they beat down a team that was not at their best, I feel like that's going to boost their confidence. So I think we're going to have a more challenging match than what we would have had if things had gone otherwise with maybe a tie or a defeat on their end. But I think it'll be a good game. I mean, I know that they've got a lot of players on their injured list. They got like half a dozen, and they're having to play and experiment a little bit, like with Shaw playing it right back. But I mean, he did great doing that this week.
Mhm.
So I don't know, but I'm hoping that maybe we'll have some extra motivation with us having 3 former Greenville players. Maybe that'll kinda light a fire and get them ready
Yeah.
to
Yep.
go. I know Nico was on that show that I was telling you guys about, and he was talking about how he has a little bit extra motivation this week. So I,
Yeah.
I'm ready to see that. I'm ready to see that in action. So I
Yeah,
think
for
it'll
sure.
happen.
So you guys got Nico Brown,
We
trying to
got
think of
Don Smart, and then we got
Don Smart.
Cesar Murillo. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Big one
So
for me. I was trying to remember Don Smart. Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, we got that trio. So
Yeah.
and they've done good. Like Cesar in the back, he's been awesome. He's really made an impact. Nico on the wings, like I feel like he's found another gear with us. I think that I don't know if it's just the system, the fresh start, but I feel like he's pretty dangerous. Like I know he did a lot in preseason, but then I was waiting for that to actually come about in the regular season. And I think last game really that put him in the mindset of like, okay, I'm here to make this happen. So I expect a lot more from him. I'm hopeful.
Ooh, Dave bringing some trivia into the fold. Don Smart, first player signed by Ford Madison, Peter Wilt.
Hmm,
There's so that guy's been around
yeah,
the block there.
yeah,
Two players that'll do that,
yeah,
bounce
Peter
around
Wilt,
teams.
man, he had his hand in Chicago Fire, Chicago House, and Ford Madison. I mean, that guy is just spreading the soccer love up in
hmm,
that region.
prolific.
Growing the game, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Well, I'm yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for this weekend. I want to see more goals, even more. I
Yep.
want to see it happen. I'm
So how
still
many what
what
score
was
line are you going for?
um I'm gonna go 2-0 us.
Okay.
Go
But
2-0
obviously
us.
wanting
I mean,
more.
what was that Rich you cut out, man?
But obviously wanting more.
Oh yeah, I want way more. I think our offense has a little bit of a different feel now that we've been using Atis Diouf up top.
Yeah.
Ever since we put him up there, our shots taken has increased drastically, and it's
Yeah.
not just him. That game against Madison, it was just him. Like he had 5 shots himself. But last game, I think we had more people connecting with the ball. Like he has some crazy good technique and the speed that he has combined with it, I think that that just helps open up a lot more space because then people are trying to swarm him, trying to take the ball away, and then he just gets out of those situations, gets it fed into somebody else, and I think that's helping a lot of our other players getting to those spots where they can actually take those shots and get those fired off. So
Hmm.
I'm hoping we get some more. I want to see more of our strikers get on the sheet. Although I don't care who scores, frankly,
Yeah.
right? Like
Anybody.
yeah, I'd love to see plenty of people score on this. I
Hmm.
know they're all hungry for it, and they're wanting those goals bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be super interesting. Like, um, Greenville coming off their first win,
Yeah,
you guys coming off yours. Like, I mean, it's going to be, it should be pretty electric. Like, um, I think both of you guys, Lexington and Greenville, look good at times, and it's just
yeah,
one of those things where it's piecing the entire match together.
yeah,
Because like Lexington in particular, I've seen it. They've had like 10-15 minute spurts of looking really really good,
yeah,
and then 15-minute spurts of looking like mid bottom table, and then
yeah,
it's finding that. And even if you find enough form to like be a middle of the table type team, that'll, it'll even itself out. So like
Mhm.
yeah.
they've
I mean,
definitely
you're not
got
wrong.
talent.
I mean, our players haven't even acknowledged that. Like I know Khalid, after our game against Madison, he was talking about how you know things kind of slowed down the second half. It wasn't, and so did our coach. He was like, we're doing too much of like the falling into bad habits in occasions instead of
Mhm.
like holding to a standard and then kind of making that happen throughout the game. So, I and I think that's another thing that I hope can fall into place. One of our things that I really think has hurt us more than anything is just the opportunities we've given in our final third as far as like PKs and free kicks and some of those situations, like not faulting any players, like you're in the moment and you're just trying to make sure somebody doesn't get that shot on goal. Things happen, you foul them, and then you just try your best to defend it. But we've given up a lot of chances in those regards, and those are usually the things that end up biting us, and we see a score occur. So maybe a little bit more, you know, finesse in those areas, I think we
Yep.
can do it. And our players are capable of it. And like I said, this isn't faulting them, saying that they're just being reckless because soccer's a fast sport. You're doing what you can and things occur. But and
Yeah.
I think that that'll click. I think we'll have that happen. But we definitely are we're liking our yellow cards here recently.
And speaking of your defenders, Brian's a big fan of one of your defenders.
Oh,
Oh, Fox?
yeah,
Yeah.
Kalen Fox. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
I was
Love
pretty
him.
jealous when you guys signed him, honestly, because it was like Omaha needs a center back. Like,
Yeah.
pick him, bring him in. It's like, oh no, Lexington signed him. Fuck.
I was pestering the hell out of him on social media, I swear. It's funny because at, one of our games before the match, I was just, standing there waiting, my wife went to go into the team store, and his whole family ends up coming up to me, and I didn't recognize them, and they're like, "Tyler?" And I was like, Yes." And it's like, "Hi, I'm Kaylin's mom. This is Kaylin's dad. This is
Nice.
Kaylin's aunt. This is Kaylin's other aunt. We all listen to your podcast and read your stuff, and we're fans." And I was like, "What do I do with my hands?"
Yeah,
It was one of those, again, we're talking surreal moments. I was just like, "No, you guys aren't fans of me. Like, I'm fans of your son." And
right.
you got this backwards. And
Yeah.
no, I was pumped, and I think they were super excited that he came here too. And there's a ton of really great players, but when we're thinking about the tie to the city and the region, and then
Mhm.
the veteran presence and the productivity, I don't think we could have really asked for a better first signing to kind of kick things off. And I'm glad he's here. He plays hard. I mean, like
Mhm.
when we won the other night, you would have thought we won the entire thing the
Oh,
way he
yeah.
Yeah.
reacted. Like the dude's energy whenever we win or when we are on top is just through the roof. Like
Mhm.
it's so good. It just gets everybody amped. He was one of the players too that whenever we were going for a corner in the last game, he was out there, come on, make some noise, let's go. And
Yeah.
so it's awesome to have a player like that that really feeds off of that stuff and has the skill to back it up too.
Mhm.
And who's your captain?
So our captain is Charlie Machel, and then our
Okay.
captains are Will Bainham and Don Smart.
Nice.
So,
Okay. Cool.
which I don't know when we're
That's
going to
nice.
see Will. He was in a boot at our last game. He said that he rolled his ankle, but he
Oh,
didn't seem super concerned about it. So hopefully that means that he's on the rebound soon.
man, if he rolled his ankle and he was in a boot, must have been a serious ankle
Yeah,
roll.
that's what I was wondering. He was talking like it was just a precaution, and they just wanted to make sure that he didn't do anything at all to irritate it. But
Yeah.
I haven't heard any updates or anything. That's the only thing I heard from him. Because I was down on the field before the match, just kind of watching the warm ups, and he walked over by me, and we started chatting a bit. And I was like, well, hopefully we get that fixed up before too long,
Yeah.
because I'd love to have him, make his presence felt at striker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's still super early. I mean, there's
Yeah.
28 matches left in the season, so
Mhm.
it's it's just finding your way, and I think Lexington will eventually find their way, just like Greenville will eventually find their way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's super early. We just got to keep remembering that, and I'm going to keep saying that until about halfway through the season. I'm going to look and be like, "Oh, cool, we're 16 matches in. It's not the beginning of the season anymore." So,
All right.
Right.
Grace period's over. Get your act together.
yeah,
Yeah. Start screaming at everybody.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
Alex,
true. I mean, last season, the chaoticness of just like it was like the last like 3 or 4 weeks when
hmm
you finally started seeing things settle. Like so, you got so much time. I mean, granted, every single point counts, but
yep,
just knowing that you know being steady and consistent and trying to build that consistency and bouncing back from those dips, that's really what matters at the end of it all.
yep. And Alex brings up a great point. He says it's great to have a player coach who's still a good player. I mean, having Stockley, man, that dude's cool. We said it during the
Hmm.
broadcast uh, that we think he'd be a pretty cool guy to grab a drink with. I bet he's that
He,
kind of
he
guy, just
he
fun to
he
chat
is.
with.
Oh, absolutely. Man, after the win, whenever I was on the field, he got done with his interview. We got done with all of them, and he was talking to one of our owners. And then, like, I turned and saw him, and he turned and saw me, and then he was just like, "We did it!" and came over. And I've only been hugged more tightly by my mother. Like, I thought he was gonna crush my rib cage. He was so excited. He was just like, "We did it!" And I was like, yeah, we did. It was it was awesome. He is a very cool guy, and he takes it seriously, and he wants the best. And he's somebody that whenever he talks, you really feel like it's genuine, and he's wanting things to go well, and he really wants to back up everything he says as far as doing right by the community and getting the players in a good spot. And so he's a very cool guy.
He seems to genuinely care about the community, and that's really cool to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, he does, and he you can tell he cares about the players too. Everything
Mhm.
that he says, any interview, he never is throwing anybody under the bus. It's always like we like it's all about the process and thinking about how to really get everybody as a collective on the same page and doing better and building, So and
Mhm.
he said it before, like he wants to develop them all to where they can, go further on in their career and keep progressing. So it's cool to have a coach like that where he wants the best for everybody involved. So
Good.
it's nice.
Yeah. Dave Verona said, "I'm not sure that Greenville will find their way. They were perfectly dreadful at Breeze on
Yeah.
Saturday." What a great comment.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
And Alex said, "I would never bet against Harks in this league until they actually miss the playoffs."
Mhm.
All right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. Like, and I have such trouble figuring out what we're gonna see out of them on Saturday just because of that confidence booster. But I mean, they're having to do a lot of plug and play with people. There's a lot
They
of
are.
moving around and figuring out who can fill a position going on. It's not like these are our decided starters for each of these roles and they're comfortably in it. And I mean, as much as they put a thumping on Fuego, I mean, like I said, Fuego did not look good in that game.
Mhm.
It wasn't, you would have thought they were the ones with the injuries and people just kind of randomly filling holes.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I'm still feeling confident, Don't want to bag on Greenville too much, but I do feel like this is something where we're going to see that at home momentum continue to build for us and we'll go from there, but this is the most confident I've felt about a match so far this season.
Ooh, okay.
Very
I
nice.
I like
and
that.
yeah, I mean, it is. There are other matches where I'm like, okay, this was gonna be a tough one, like Tormenta. I was like, we can win this, but it's gonna be tough. And
Yeah.
with Greenville, I'm like, we can win this.
Right. You heard it here
And
first.
and can we get a rebuttal from the Greenville crowd? Crickets, crickets.
If it makes you feel any better, I actually texted Brandon and Gio that exact thing. I told them straight up. I was like, "This is the most comfortable I've felt about saying we're gonna get a win," and they're
Nice.
like, "Oh, okay." They were not nice back.
I will be right back. 2 seconds.
So that is the Lexington Greenville match. Who do you have in the Charlotte hosting Fuego match?
Charlotte,
Charlotte, yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense.
100%. Especially after seeing Fuego this week, I think Charlotte's. Oh man, I don't know. I think it's gonna be pretty bad for Fuego. I
I
mean,
mean,
they
just
might get it together, but
look at Charlotte's roster. I mean, Dane Kelly, Gabriel
mm,
Oberton, Omar Sis, Miguel Ibarra.
yeah,
They got Austin Pack in goal. I mean, they're just
yeah,
top to bottom. Just jeez. When
I
they
know.
put their starting lineup out on Wednesday night, I read through and like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, man. I mean, even when I was looking ahead at our future games, that's one of the games that like I'm like, whoo, that is going to be a challenge and a half. Like
Yeah.
that's the only game that's got me sweating a little bit until I see something otherwise from them. Uh, obviously every game makes you sweat some, but that
Mhm.
one it's like, whoo, it's going to be the thing that if we were to pull off a result against them, that's big time, like real big time. So,
Yeah.
I think and this is nothing against Fuego. I mean, I know they're playing hard and they're going to do what they can, but unless they just have some miraculous turnaround where they're immensely better compared to what they showed against Greenville, who had been struggling up to that point, I
Mhm.
just I don't see them finding their footing against Charlotte of all people or all
Yeah.
teams. You know,
And it's a lot easier for us to hype Charlotte over Fuego because with as many new players as they brought in,
yeah,
um, there's just we don't know what to expect from Fuego. I mean, it was kind of the
um,
same thing last season.
yeah,
Whereas with Charlotte, I mean, we could just sit here and go through their roster like, oh, yep, this guy's good.
yeah,
Um, and so we're still getting to know Fuego. We're still getting to see how they play and get familiar with their players and all that kind of stuff. But we
yeah,
know that their players are good.
right. And I think that it's like one of those things where, like you said, the players are good, but it just seemed like the team isn't quite
Yeah.
clicking. And that happens, like it's taken a minute for our team to click. We're new, everybody's new to each other, and so you can see that, you can feel that. But like Fuego just felt very out of sorts as far as being on the same page with each other on the field. And
Yeah,
so, I mean, that might start happening and they might start turning things around, but um, like you said, we know that we have known quantities, right? With Charlotte, like we understand what those players can and will do, and they've already had a few games to show that they still will do those things. So
yeah. And Alex brings up a really good point here too. Fuego built a squad around Jose Carrera Garcia, and he hasn't been able to play yet. I
yeah,
mean, that's a hell of a player.
yeah,
He showed plenty of talent at Chattanooga
hmm
last season, and um, yeah, I mean, to see to make him one of the main ingredients of the team, and him not even on the field yet. I mean, that throws some questions into the mix as well.
yeah, 100%. There's a lot of talk and getting amped up about him joining. So that's that not happening so far is definitely hurting him.
Yeah. So we got Charlotte when, and that one kicks off at well, that'll be 3 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah,
So Lexington and Greenville is the only match in prime time tomorrow night.
yeah. It's a weird week
Yeah, it is.
with
Very weird.
Wednesday and Friday having 2 games each, and then Saturday, it's very spread out this time. I had to, like, double check myself. I was like, "Wait, there aren't more games?"
Right. It'll be nice, be able to watch them. I think I'll be able to watch them tomorrow. I had to order a new part for the car, so, like,
Yeah.
I had to wait for it to come in before I can fix it. I didn't tell you that yet, Rich, but I'll tell you that story offline too,
Yeah,
but
I forgot to ask you about that today. Yeah.
I know I didn't fix because nobody had well, you know what, it's just the kinda hangout, so I will tell the story. So, the timing belt went out on my Subaru, which is a big like, Subarus are supposed to have their timing belts changed every 105,000 miles. I let it go to 130 because the when I took it in last to the dealership, they were like, "Oh, no, it's good. It looks good. It should be good for another 40, 50,000 miles." It wasn't. So, I gotta do that, but I gotta pull the crankshaft pulley off. But to do that, you have to have a special tool that holds the pulley in place to take the bolt off. Nobody has it.
Oh,
And
Cord.
so I called the auto parts store because I knew it was a specialty part, just because it's Subaru, everything's a specialty part for Subarus. And I called and I was like, "Hey, I'm looking for a specific pulley holder tool. I need to see if you have it." And the guy gives me attitude with it. He's like, "Sir, we have over 200 parts or 200 tools available for rent." Like, okay, I guess I'll come in and do this. And I got the same guy at the register that I talked to on the phone. And I was like, "All right, this is what I need." Showed him a picture. He's like, "Oh, we don't have that." Like, dude,
come on, man.
it's almost like I called you on the phone to find out if you had it
Ye
or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, man.
but anyway, if that doesn't show up, I will be able to watch both of the matches. I definitely am very interested in the Lexington Greenville. Because I feel like that first one, Charlotte and Central Valley, I feel like we kind of know how that's going to go right now in the season.
Yeah.
Um, but that Lexington Greenville one is definitely one that I have circled. See which team is going to kind of put it together better because it's you guys are essentially the same team, Lexington and Greenville right now. Both have really good runs of looking really good and then looking really bad. Looking really, exactly what we talked about earlier, but uh, it's going to be who puts it together. And it'll be interesting to see with the contingent of Greenville players you have too, how they play against their former squad too.
Yeah. I
Ooh,
I I
so
am curious about that.
Tyler, let me ask you this because I've asked Brian this before, so I have his input here.
Yeah.
We have three undefeated teams left in the league. We have Charlotte, we have Northern Colorado, and we have Ford Madison.
Mhm.
Which of those three do you think is going to be the last remaining undefeated club?
I'm gonna go Charlotte.
Okay,
I think I'm gonna go Charlotte.
because uh, they have Central Valley tomorrow, and then they
Yeah.
followed up with um, Ford Madison, I think. So that'll, and then Northern Colorado comes to Omaha.
Mhm.
So yeah, you could very well be right there.
That's what I was thinking. I couldn't quite remember, like, the next couple games for all 3 of them, but
Yeah,
I remembered Charlotte's, and so that has me feeling like it's possible. Like, 'cause I don't
yeah,
know that they're all gonna stay undefeated past the next 2 weeks, but,
true.
could
Yeah.
could be wrong, but if I had to go with my gut, I'd say Charlotte will be the one.
No, that's a good take. Yeah, I like it.
Charlotte over Forward Madison on next Saturday, and then yeah. All right, I'll take that. I think
Yeah.
that's what I said too.
Yeah, 'cause I still,
Yeah, you
like
said Charlotte.
I still have a lot of questions about Northern Colorado because, I mean, I know they were beating up on people in preseason,
Mhm.
like crushing people 8-0, but I don't have enough that I've seen of them to tell if like that's legit and if that's like kind of going to be their MO that they will be able to translate. Not 8-0 obviously in USL one, but throwing down these strong wins. So I mean, I still think they're going to do good this season, way better than last season in my opinion. But um, yeah, I'm still kind of jury's out on them for me as far as what exactly is going to transpire. But I
Yeah, and
like
we
Charlotte's
haven't
chances.
seen Irvin Parra get a whole lot of playing time either. I mean, he's sitting out for personal reasons, so
Right,
if
right,
we're able to consistently get him in there, that's another
yeah,
threat that they have to their arsenal.
right, 100%. Feel like we have a lot of these like high flying offenses or teams with potential for high flying offenses this
Yep.
year. It's kind
Yeah,
of making it tough to really figure out who's gonna really come out at the end of all of this just because of that. But it's
yeah.
exciting. Makes for exciting games.
Mhm.
Brian and I have talked about that. We so I've specifically said that I think that last year was a much more defensive season,
Yeah,
whereas this year I feel like it's going to be a lot more offensive season.
I think you're
And
right.
seeing the offenses that we have around the league, man, oh, it would suck to be a defender this season.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing. Like I know I keep talking about LSC, but that's something that gives me a little bit of confidence. I feel like our back line has improved a lot
Yeah,
over the last few games, and I feel like that's going to be super important. As much as like I harp on like score goals, we have to score goals, like
Right.
connect and score these goals because that's the only way you can win. I think our defense is going to be pretty key, and they've been looking very solid. They've been doing some good stuff, and I feel like we have some really great depth with our back line too, as far as who can kind of rotate in and out for some of those positions. So, I mean, obviously our starting crew is very solid. I mean, like especially when we think about their involvement in the attack as well. Like Owen Green just showed that he can do his thing, but Tariq Muhammad is insane as far as what he brings to the table. But
yeah.
I think you're right about the defensive nature last year versus the attacking nature this year, and I think some of those attacking minded teams are definitely going to start separating themselves more
Mhm.
so than in the past.
Do you think the Open Cup match against Louisville City was a turning point for the club?
I think that it was good that we got that out of the way. Obviously I wanted us to go further in it. Like somebody at one point had asked me, I forget who asked me this, but they were like, "Would you think? Are you worried?" Oh, that's right. It was whenever I was talking to Ben Newman, who does all the coverage of Lou City. I was on their radio show, the ESPN affiliate in Louisville before the match, and he's like, is that worrisome to be facing somebody like Lou City this early on in your club's history? And Lou City was struggling before that, and I think they found a little bit more of their stride. But in my opinion, it was good that we faced off against a powerhouse in the championship. I mean, they might have been struggling at that moment, but when you think about Lou City as far as their track record, that's a team that's pretty daunting to take on.
Yep.
So I think it was in some ways it showed the team like, hey, they might not have been at their absolute best, but we're also still like forming. Like this is early on in us as a team. And so then holding them to just one goal in that match, I think was big and maybe kind of showing them like it's doable to
Yeah.
come to League One and then also take on the people in League One that are powerhouses that could take on most championship teams and still hopefully put your best foot forward and be ready to go.
Yeah, because since that US Open Cup match, y'all are undefeated.
Yeah. Yeah, I like in every single game, just watching him, there's always something that could be different or better, and the team knows that. I mean, if I can pick that out, I'm a nobody and I can pick it out. So I know the coaching staff and the players know it, but I feel like each game they've kind of put another piece of the puzzle in there,
Yeah.
and so if they can keep doing that, if they can keep adding pieces without losing any pieces that they've added along the way, I mean, obviously that's the formula for any team, but I think that we'll see some consistency for us. And I mean, my hope is still a playoff spot. You know,
Oh yeah,
when half the teams getting it, I feel like that's reasonable to say
yeah,
playoff spots an option on the table for us. It's still real early in the season, obviously. You know, like Brian said, you got 28 more games to
Right.
make that happen. But I just feel like we have a really reflective team, and everybody out there is definitely out there for each other. Every single interview that any of them ever has ever done, me or otherwise, they always are like shrugging off any individual praise they get, and they're just like, "No, it's the team. Like
yeah,
we all did this. Like this person did this. Like Nico Brown in the last game, he's like, oh, like the main reason I scored that goal is because Atis passed it off to me. Atis could have flicked it in, but he sent it across the way for me, and because he knew that mine was definitely a sure thing, and so I think that's going to help us continue with that. At least I hope so.
yeah. Random question: how do you pronounce the city where that championship club is from?
Louisville,
Yeah, okay, because
like that's how I always say it. I've heard like different iterations of it.
yeah,
I know I sound Southern to most people, but I also have a little bit of like the Northern accent buried in there. So sometimes certain things I say are pronounced weird.
yeah.
And so that's how I say it. I say Louisville. So
Because Brian and I talked about this. So when I was in drum corps, one of the guys that I marched with, he's from that area, and he told us that there's 6 different pronunciations for that city.
there's a lot.
Yeah,
It really does depend on who you talk to. Like what area of the state you come from really determines that.
yeah,
And there's all different iterations. So
yeah.
it's funny to hear.
And he says it the exact same way as you. So
Yeah.
when he and I first met, I would always say Louisville,
Yeah.
and that was the it's kind of like in Inglorious Bastards when
Yeah.
he ordered the 3 beers instead of the 3 beers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was his like, "Oh, yep, yeah, you're not from around here."
Yeah.
Right.
And funny though, because there are people here that say it that exact way. Like there
Yeah,
are, like it's weird, just all the different iterations of how people pronounce it, and I don't know, it cracks me up because that's always something that comes up here too. Is like, how do you pronounce Louisville? And it's like,
yeah.
this is a test. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I
What is
was
it
gonna say
for?
it sounds exactly like it says.
Yeah, yeah. And they're like, you're not from around here, are you? And I'm like, whoa. I was just testing you to see if you thought that was right.
Alex Ashton says he's never heard of any of those pronunciations, so
So Nebraska has a Louisville,
Yeah.
but I've heard people say Louisville and Louisville.
Hmm.
And then in Kentucky, you guys have Louisville, you have Louisville. I think there's a couple others, but um,
Yeah.
the one that my buddy got me stuck on was Louisville. So that's the
Yeah.
way I always say it now too.
Yeah. Yeah. I always just go with Louisville. Like
Yeah.
that's what mine defaults to. So I don't know. There'll probably be like some Lexingtonians or people from Louisville jump on and be like, no, it's actually this way. But then I feel like it's always who you ask. There's like it's one of those weird mysterious things where there's no real answer, but
Yeah.
everybody thinks there's a real answer, and then
mhm,
you're like, all right, whatever. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna keep saying it this way, and you just judge me, and who
right.
cares?
"Did you know what I meant?" "Yes." "Okay,
Right.
we're fine."
Yes. You know the place that I'm speaking of, so we're
Yeah.
good. And like I always get self-conscious, like I said, like I'm from Minnesota originally, and so there's just that little bit of twinge that's left. And so occasionally when I say things, like not many people pick up on it, but my friends always do. And so I'm like, am I saying that like a weirdo? Or am I saying that like it's supposed to be said? Like whenever I go to like the areas of Kentucky where people really have a strong accent, they're like, you are from another place, aren't you? And I'm like, "Ah, yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah, a little bit.
Allison said that she saw a sign in a bar there once that had them on it. And the quote unquote right one was either at the top or the bottom. It was a while ago. So
Hmm.
she encountered that same discrepancy.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like, anyway, if you ask somebody from Lexington how to pronounce Louisville, they'll like probably tell you trash. Like, I don't know. It's contentious down here with like the Louisville Lexington
Sure.
situation.
It's like
With
an inside joke, like, hey, how do you pronounce that? Luckaville. Like, oh, okay, cool. And
nah,
then they go around and take it saying that, like, who the hell is this
what are
guy?
you talking about? It's so funny how, like, deep that rivalry runs, though. It's, actually met one of the announcers that does a lot of the basketball stuff, when I was up in Louisville, and he was just like, "So you do the, Lexington stuff, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "I hate Lexington." And then I was like, "That's alright, man, it's cool." And then after the match, he caught me, and he's like, "You know what? You guys did okay. I don't hate Lexington as much, and I'm glad you came." And I was like, "Thanks."
Thanks, I guess.
Yeah, I was like, "Okay." Well, I'm glad you don't hate me too much because we're in a dark parking lot and, you know, glad everything's good now. No, he was great. He
It's
was funny
good.
and he was hilarious.
It's good.
All right, so we got some people listening. Give us a good reason why you think Lexington is going to win tomorrow, and don't be afraid to throw Greenville under the bus.
They're not here to defend themselves.
Exactly. What's your hype speech for Lexington tomorrow?
Hype speech
Yeah,
to myself, to the
yeah,
players, what?
yeah.
I don't know. I just think that, like, a lot of people have done, like, the whole, like, we're Greenville 2.0 with, like, the players we brought in and maybe a little
Okay.
bit of the style,
Yeah,
and, and meant not necessarily always as a compliment, but I think that we've got an extra bit of hunger to us that maybe some teams don't have this year. I'm not saying teams don't want to win, but we have a lot to prove. We are a brand new organization,
yeah,
fresh out of the box, and there are a lot of players that haven't been around this league at all. And so I think they're all trying to prove like they've got something that everybody should be watching out for. I mean, take people like Tate Robertson, for example. He is a phenomenal player and he's had such a huge impact on our team. He's always whipping in crosses, he's always cutting up the sidelines, and it's just I think that we have that little extra something and a little bit of that chip on the shoulder because the players they've mentioned before that they see and hear what people say about
yeah.
Lexington and about every time that somebody makes a little bit of a jab about like, oh, you guys lost the game, and they're like, okay, well, we're not going to lose anymore. And I think that there's just a true fire that's lit underneath them and our coaching staff, and I think they take again, not that other teams don't take it seriously, but I think they take it seriously that they're representing our city and our region. And I think that it really does. They've shown it means a lot to them whenever they can win and they make the fans feel good about investing their time. I think that they take that very seriously. And so, um, thinking about this being our third home match in a row, and we've yet to be defeated at home, I think they also have an extra motivation to keep that rolling. And at the very least, keep this kind of like as a fortress, hopefully, where maybe we can be reverse Tormenta, and at home
Yeah.
we're indomitable, and we can have that be known throughout the league, and um, just like the confidence boost of beating somebody like Tormenta. I know they've been a little up and down, but league champs are league champs, and
Yeah.
they didn't really change a whole lot in the offseason. They had some minor changes here and there, but they're still a strong team no matter what with a strong coach. And I just think that we've got that going for us. That motivation is there, and then especially with our former Greenville players, when you play your old team, I mean, sure you like have friends there, but you also want to have those bragging rights. I know
Yeah.
I would.
Mm.
I like any competition. I want to beat my friends. I would
Yeah.
still be friends with them, but I want to be the one to be like, I beat you.
Not for 90 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I think it's definitely something where we're gonna have it happen and go our way. I'm gonna manifest that. I'm gonna speak it into existence, and I know the players want it to happen too. They don't want to disappoint the fans. They don't want to disappoint themselves, and they're gonna make it happen.
So I we like to throw those polls out to see how the fans are feeling about matches before they kick off, and
Yeah,
I'm genuinely interested to see how fans react to the poll tomorrow because you're obviously going to have a lot of those Greenville fans that are going to jump in and just
yeah,
vote for Greenville just because of Greenville.
yeah.
Um,
And
but to
Greenville's
have
very active
the
online.
yeah, they
Very.
are.
That's good. I love it.
And
And there's so many Greenville people that I interact with, and they're great.
Yeah.
So as much as I'm razzing you now, I still love you.
Yeah. But to see all the rest of the fans jump in on that poll and
Mhm.
see their input into the poll,
Yeah.
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think we still have a lot to prove,
Yeah.
but I mean, frankly, you could say the same about Greenville at this point in their season too, though.
Mm,
So,
Yeah.
it's just a battle of unknown quantities at this point, and I think we've shown a little bit more substance, frankly.
Yep.
Not nothing against Greenville and what they're building, and John Harkes is a great coach, and they've got great players, but like I said before, I feel like where I watch them so intently, I analyze our play. There's just one more piece that we add every single time, and it's
Yeah.
always that piece that was missing. And so I think that that's not going to stop, at least not yet.
mhm.
Yeah.
I think too. There's a thing to be said. You touched on it earlier, Tyler, with um, wanting to win for the city and taking that sense of pride. And I think that really comes from the top down.
Yeah,
So I mean, coach for you guys comes in and immediately embraces the community, wants to build the academy system, wants to um, obviously you guys have youth teams going already and stuff like that. So
yeah,
um, he comes in and builds that, and that has to rub off on the players. So I think you hit the nail right on the head with that. Just the players are playing for the city, and that's huge.
yeah,
And just even from coming from the Union Omaha thing, with us coming into the league too, there really is that kind of mentality of like, okay, we're here, we need to make a statement and show the league that we're not somebody that you're just going to walk all over. Um, we're not going to be last year's NCFC or FC Tucson, like.
Mhm.
right.
Um, and I think the players kind of understand that. And you guys have a very talented group of veterans on your team that have played in the league and
Mhm.
knows what it takes to win. So um, Lexington definitely built it right. And I mean, it also comes with you guys beating a team with an actual star and not an asterisk over their logo, um, because they actually won the league in a final. But um, yeah, that I think everything you said is completely spot on, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's definitely going to be a good match tomorrow. It that's I don't even know where I'm going to go with that one yet. I still haven't figured it out.
Well,
Yeah.
and I just feel like we've done a good job with like some of our players that are a little bit fresh to things really showing out. Like I know online I pointed out like Brandon whenever he like through his League One review account was talking about, players we'd like to really shout out or think have done really phenomenal for our teams. Like Fila Delamini in our midfield, our central midfielder, he's been awesome. I mean, like he's not been anywhere in the States as far as playing. He's been like in South Africa playing there, comes over here. And, when I was watching his film before he came over and I did my little player write up, I knew that he could be somebody that would be a game changer. And he's shown that. Like he controls the midfield. No matter who he's paired with, he does an awesome job of really locking down the center there. And, last game, I feel like he could have made an argument for player of the week, except for that giveaway for the PK. He
Oh.
got caught a little bit, but off of that game, he's the one that drew our foul that ends up in a goal. He's the one that assisted Owen Green for that header that got us our second goal. So he was directly involved in some form or fashion with both of our goals. It was just that one moment that I think just kind of skewed things for him in that match. But I mean, he rocked it. And he's one of those unsung heroes of the match, I feel a lot of times where, it's not necessarily that he's doing super flashy things, but he's doing the things that matter in a game and could be game changers. And so we have a lot of people like him. And he's not the only one by any means. I could rattle off really good things that every player has done in each match that's impacted things. But I think that's just something that just speaks to, those individual pieces. They're building on their own. They're starting to do better and really lock in, and then that's starting to click across players. So I don't
Mhm.
know. I'm obviously real high on the team.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, as you
We
should
already
be
got
though.
a we already got a prediction from Alex. He's predicting a draw.
Ah, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. It's okay. I'm not currently blocking Alex right now. No, I'm just kidding. Just joking, Alex. I could totally I could see that. I really could.
Sure.
Greenville coming off of that result and flying high. It's possible for sure.
Yeah. Hey,
You
a
know,
point's a point though.
Yeah.
I'd be
Oh,
happy with that.
absolutely. I will never be one to scoff at a point.
Yeah,
Right.
It does wonders for you. To just be able to have a point go in there and then carry you through. I know you guys got the brunt of it last season. Geo's favorite coin term for you guys. Like the old drama ha, but still
oh yeah,
draws
Playoffs.
draws count. They
yeah,
that's the beauty of soccer. You still get points from that, and that can still get you where you need to be. And at the end of the day, that also means people aren't beating you. Like
yeah,
that's
True.
that's how I always look at it. It's like, well, you aren't getting beat, so you can
Yep.
pull that off. And that's not something to just kind of be like whatever about.
Mhm.
yep. Alex jumped in and said, "Please don't," with a red heart emoji.
I wouldn't do that, Alex. Never. The only people I have blocked are Gio and Brandon, but just for the next few days.
Yep. That's fair. I mean,
Well, we kept you much longer than the hour that we advertised when we initially invited you, but so we thank you for staying longer than the hour.
Yeah, no worries,
Um,
guys.
uh, so we really appreciate. You have any other last words you want to say before we sign off for the night?
No, no, I think I covered everything. I talked way too much, probably.
Cool.
To
No,
get
you did
going and to
just
get
fine.
going.
nope.
So, we wanna use the Brian and I were chatting about this, and we wanna use the Friday and Sunday night shows to really, highlight some of the podcasters, from
Hmm.
around League One. And
Yeah,
you're a prime example of people that are doing quality work for their club, for the league, to raise awareness, to raise hype for the players, the home side. Um, so we definitely wanna, have you on, frequently throughout the season. And these Fridays and Sunday night shows are going to be prime opportunities to highlight the efforts of other people around the league and get their perspective on things.
yeah, that'd be awesome. I loved it. It
Yeah,
was a fun time, y'all.
yeah,
Yeah, we really appreciate you taking time out too. I know being on the East Coast, you're an hour ahead of us, so it's getting pretty late. And I know with the whole kid thing, that I know exactly how that goes. They'll probably be up at 5:30 now, just because you stayed up late
Oh
for us.
yeah,
So,
yep,
yeah, yeah. The 1 year old will probably wake up in an hour.
yep.
Yep,
So,
screaming for us.
but yeah, like I
Cool
said, we
guys.
really appreciate it and appreciate all the work you do
Yeah,
too. It's always fun listening to your
same to you all.
podcast and reading your stuff. So keep up the great work, man, because we really enjoy it.
I appreciate it. Same goes for you guys. You guys crush it. I love
yeah. And
listening in.
tell Tasha we said thank you for letting us borrow you for a little bit tonight.
Oh, I will. She's probably like waiting out there being like, "You still on there?"
You're still talking to those two weirdos in Omaha?
Yeah, it's like, "You talking to all these random people online." No, no, it's all good. Yeah, she's pretty understanding. She's great about everything, and she supports me. So that's nice to have that because I know sometimes I spend more time than I should investing in soccer, and so
Yeah.
her putting up with it and being like, "Okay, that's fine," but like
Right.
just
Yep.
set aside these times. I'm like, "Okay, all right." So
Hmm.
she keeps me reined in. Yeah, yeah, it was awesome, guys. But thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely be doing it again.
Cool. All right, guys. Until next time.
All
Yep.
right.
All right,
Thanks.
see ya.
See
See
ya.
ya.
All
Man, that
right.
was fun.
That was a good time.
Yeah.
Tyler is a great guy, and make sure you guys check out his podcast and all of his writing and stuff, and every podcast that he's on. Obviously, he's a great guy, um, really knowledgeable and everything like that too. So
Mhm.
make sure you and if you're not following him, go give him a follow at Crane Kicks Lex on Twitter, because he's
Yep.
always posting all the stuff he does and keep you in the loop with when his podcasts come out and stuff like that. So
Yeah. He writes for uh, Lexington. He did some work for the Cup. He does the podcast. I mean, he's a regular contributor to the USL show. So I mean, the guy's very busy and he does really great work. So yeah,
mhm,
definitely, like Brian said, give him a follow.
sure. All right. Well, I think we sufficiently exhausted the remaining two matches this this weekend. The
Yeah.
thing about this kind of for this Friday show is a little bit weird, just because there's not that many matches tomorrow. So it's like
Yep.
we got one match that's Charlotte and Fuego, and like I said earlier, I think we know how that match is going to go, but they still got to play it. So
Yep.
who knows? Maybe this is that turning point for Fuego where they just come out, smack Charlotte, and then we got somebody else to worry about in the league. But
Yeah.
and then obviously we talked about that Greenville and Lexington match, and that's I think that one's going to be a little bit more pivotal in which one of those two teams' season starts their kind of uptick at this point because they're both coming
Yeah.
off of big wins. They're both coming off of trying to round into form and just bring it all together. Because, like I said earlier, they both showed a lot of flashes this season of um, playing really well and then playing poorly and then playing well and playing poorly. So, if one of those teams can put an entire game together, that could be that springboard where every match is turning into they're playing 100% every time. So,
Yeah.
um, and I think this is about the time last year where we started to see a lot of teams that we figured were going to be in the playoffs rounding into that kind of playoff form that carried them for the rest of the season. So
Hmm.
I think this is going to be one of those matches that we'll look back on towards the end of the season. Like this is the point where X team season started to pick back up.
Yep. I wholeheartedly agree. I think this is going to be a big matchup. There's a lot of storylines. There's a lot of hype behind it. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And just as we discussed earlier, the environment in Lexington is going to be truly special tomorrow night. So I'm excited to watch that broadcast and see it all come to fruition.
Hmm. Yeah, and that was one thing I didn't get to mention. And just as you're bringing it up now too, that was one thing with Omaha that it was um, kind of cool to see. I know COVID kind of put a damper on it, but I mean, selling out, COVID sellouts were what 2,500 people.
Yeah,
Um, so us doing that, that's about where Lexington is sitting. So hopefully Lexington keeps that same trajectory, and then because Omaha's sitting at about 3,000 fans per match, so I would
mhm,
love to see every team in the league hit that 3,000 fan threshold. Um, 'Cause that's going to be something that is really going to help the league um, moving forward. So yeah, here's hoping that everybody does what they can do. Hoping the weather is a little bit nicer than they're predicting. But
yep. It's going to be a good, strong finish to week 6.
right, well, got anything else tonight, Rich?
I don't. I'm so excited for tomorrow. I will also say that as excited as I am I am sufficiently soccered out. Uh, I've been having a lot of sleepless nights this week, so working on soccer projects, and so I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch all of both of the matches. I know the evening one is going to be a little tougher because I have some evening plans tomorrow, but I definitely intend on watching the the recording
Mhm.
again after it's finished.
And don't sleep on that Charlotte Fuego game, man. Um,
No, no,
Fuego, if Fuego comes out and catches them and plays like we've seen Fuego play, that match would be super interesting.
yeah,
Um, I'm not sold on Charlotte's defense at all or
yeah,
NCFC's defense. So, two high powered offenses with sketchy defenses and a team that's hungry like Fuego, that could spell, I don't want to say disaster, but for lack of a better word, disaster for um, Charlotte or maybe a derailment of beginning of the season. Um, and I mean, Fuego has the pieces to make it happen. It's just
yeah.
putting it together. So we'll see. I mean, there are two great matches tomorrow, four great teams, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
It really is.
I mean, I don't have anything else. So,
Cool. Yeah,
um,
I think I'm good too.
yeah. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I want to again thank Tyler for coming in and
Yeah,
hanging out with us for an hour and 40 minutes or so. Um, we only asked for an hour, and he gave us an hour 40. So
yeah.
We appreciate that, and we appreciate everybody coming in and chatting and sending stuff in, um, and keeping the conversation going too. So,
Yep.
um, we'll have the show on Sunday night, the reaction show, and it'll be reacting to two matches, but it's all right. It's still a reaction show. We can get your guys' input and everything like that. So,
Yep.
looking forward to it.
Yeah. It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah. All right. Well, hope everybody else has a good night, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yep.